Hi, welcome to today's webinar about websites. I'm going to be talking about the 7 website mistakes that business owners make and how you can avoid them. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day today. I know as entrepreneurs and business people, you're pretty busy wearing all the hats in your business, learning about all this stuff, and actually running your business too. So I really appreciate your being here today. And I hope that you're going to get some valuable tips out of this and be able to put some of those tips into action and get some results pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do is just at the beginning and the end, you'll see me on screen like this, and then I'll be sharing my screen and going through the PowerPoint slides and talking through it. And there will be a replay for those of you who can't make it, or if you can't stay around for the whole time. I will have a replay link for you that will be sent out later today with your registration email. And I will also have a worksheet to give you too. So there will be some kind of recap questions, some things for you to think about, and some of the links that I will mention throughout the PowerPoint today. So here's just a bit of an outline for you, because some people like to have a little bit of structure to it, and I'm one of those people. So I'm going to just tell you a little about myself, because some of you probably don't know me. You're just here from, you found me on the internet or in my newsletter, or people have referred you to this webinar. So thank you for joining me for the first time. I'll be talking about some vital statistics that kind of put all these website mistakes into context. And then we'll dive deeper into those 7 mistakes, and more importantly, how you can avoid them, how you can make little website fixes and tweaks so that you can have a better performing website so that you attract more clients, rank better in a Google search, and basically make more money with your website. And included in most of those things, I'm going to have some action steps for you so that you can really start to see results. Because just listening to the webinar, you're going to get some great information. But putting that into action is really going to help your business. So a little about me, and why am I doing this free webinar? Well, first of all, I love to teach people things, and that's what I've learned over the last few years. Everything comes back for me to teaching people and helping them, and especially how to do things. I'm kind of tech oriented, so the website stuff and social media and all that comes pretty naturally to me. So I started as a photographer, actually, and that really, I loved being a photographer. I got my diploma in photography back in Ottawa. I ran my business in England when we were living there for 4 years. When we moved back to Canada, I had to start marketing my business, and that's where I started to use social media. And I realized that this was a really powerful force that any business owner could use and put them on par with the big companies. It's something that they could embrace and use their, their personality, the things that big companies didn't have, and they could actually compete in a level playing field. So what I was finding is that people were coming to me more for social media advice than for photography. And I had done portraits and wedding photography. So as I merged into social media marketing and online marketing strategy, I started to help businesses to do the techie side of it as well, because that's where I saw that there was a real fear. So I kind of call myself a tech demystifier, because I help people work through those things that they really find challenging and explain it in a clear and easy way so that they can take control of their online marketing. And of course, a big part of it is their website. So I'm on a mission to empower entrepreneurs to take control of their biggest business asset, which is their website. So how did I get into doing this sort of stuff? Well, if you see this picture right here, some of you might recognize it. It's the Commodore VIC-20, and that is the first computer that I remember having. It's when computers were just starting. It kind of dates me, I guess, because even back in grade school, I remember having computers. And then this was the first computer that we had at home, and I remember programming in BASIC, and it was such an effort to make a little ball bounce across the stage. If you remember the first Atari video games, that's what they were like. So, you know, jump forward a few years, and as I was getting older, I started to travel a lot more, and that's where the photography love came in. And I started my own, really, it was a travel and photography blog with text and pictures. But then it was kind of a website. It was the start of the web generation in the late 90s. And it was on GeoCities, and Yahoo took that over years later. So there was no real programming involved in it. It was a little bit drag and drop. It, you know, if you look back at it now, it looked really clunky. But that was kind of my start in the online world. So now as a photographer, and then coming here and doing social media, I started to make my own websites. Now, the first website that I did for my photography business was a template site, and it was great for the time. But I realized that WordPress is such a flexible and powerful website building tool that I moved my websites over to that. So the first one is one that I still have now. And back when I was learning that, I didn't realize that WordPress could have such different formats. You know, I thought, you know, oh, it's WordPress, it must all look the same. And sure enough, I ended up with a theme that was kind of difficult to use. There was coding involved in HTML, and it was widget-based. It was super flexible and customizable, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't as easy for me to use. So I had to start learning a little bit of coding in that to make it even resemble what I wanted to. So then after that, I started to find out that there were these really incredibly easy themes. So as I evolved over the last few years, I found some really easy themes to work with, and that's now what I use for any of my client work, because the biggest stumbling block that I see with business people and entrepreneurs is that they really get stuck with that technical stuff. They really just want to run their businesses and not worry about this one extra thing that they have to do, like all this marketing that they used to be able to just put an ad in the yellow pages and that was it. So I could really see a need to teach entrepreneurs and business people, coaches and consultants, how to start using that themselves so that they're not really chained to a website developer to make all the changes, to upload pictures, to upload their blog, you know, to add products or to add a video, or maybe they're doing a podcast or something. So I really saw that this was a growing part of my business, and that it was really valuable because my clients really appreciated that I could make it so easy for them. So as I really worked with clients, one of the things that I explain is this is part of the marketing mentality. So this is where the kind of the social media stuff, the online marketing really ties in with the website stuff, because a lot of web developers or web coders can make it look really beautiful, but it's not necessarily functional. So I'm going to talk about that later on as we're going through the mistakes. But a website can't just have pretty pictures. It's got to have some text on it so that it helps you rank in Google. And it's got to have an easy flow so that your customers actually know what to do. Because your website is there, like I said, it's your online home or your hub. And your social media should be directing traffic to it. It's kind of a supporting role. And your website is really there as your online storefront. So the whole idea of attracting clients and getting found in a Google search and developing trust is really where I see a need for small business owners. And yeah, that's where I started jumping into that. So why don't we get on to you? Let's get back to you. And I'm here today to help you, and specifically to give you some actionable steps to turn your website into an online marketing machine. So let's start with a question. Why do you have a website? Why do you have a website? What is the goal or the purpose of your website? And do you have a plan of what your website is supposed to achieve for your business? So I want you to think about that. And if you want to, there's a Facebook comment box at the bottom. You can put your answers in there, or you can keep it private. It's up to you. I want you to just think about why you've got a website. Why are you doing this? Are you doing it because everybody else is doing it? Maybe you think you just need one. Maybe your competitors have one, or just so people can find you online. Well, that's not really enough of an answer. Because once you start to look deeper at the reasons to have a website, the goals for having one, it makes it easier to develop a design that has form as well as function. So it looks good, but it helps you make money in your business. And your website should be more than a pretty brochure of your products and services, because your website is your online store. It's there for you 24/7, and as much as possible, we should be making our websites to be running on autopilot. So if it's done right, it's going to attract clients to you without you having to do all that extra work. So I'm not going to cover all of that today, but that's where things like creating videos and blogging comes in. So that's called, inbound marketing or content marketing, creating things of value that build trust with customers when they come to your website. So let's share a few statistics. And this is coming from Kissmetrics. You have less than 8 seconds to grab the attention of a new visitor on your website. 8 seconds. We live in a really noisy world. There's so much information online, and people's attention spans are incredibly short. So if they leave your website, if your website is too confusing, too chaotic, there's so much going on, you've got lots of pictures and videos and they don't really know what to do, or it takes too long to load, or it just looks unprofessional or outdated, those visitors will probably never come back. So you've lost a potential customer. But not only that, there are other implications too, because search engines will penalize you for that. So whether you're using Google or Bing or Yahoo, it's called the bounce rate. And if people just come to your website and then leave again, that tiny little action is part of the whole algorithm, or that equation that Google or Bing uses to determine how relevant your web page is to the terms that someone is searching for. So there's a lot of reasons that you want to keep visitors on your website. Keep them for longer, keep them going through different pages, reading your blog articles, going to your services page, going to your about page, and keeping them interested. So it helps to build your relationship with your client, and it helps to help you with your Google ranking too, because they see that you are of value. All right, so I've just covered all of this, so I'm just going to skip over to the next slide. And the second point is that 96% of your visitors are not ready to buy on the first visit to your website. So that might come as a surprise to some business owners, that you think that your website is there to sell something. Well, your website is really just a step in the journey. It takes people approximately 7 touch points when you think about it traditionally, hearing you in a radio ad or at a networking event, or seeing your Facebook post, or coming across a blog post, or coming to your website. It takes 7 of those touch points to finally turn a potential client into a client. So it's only 4% of the people that are actually ready to buy from you. So when they come to your website, they are not necessarily there to buy unless they already know you and like you and trust you. But they're there to do research. And your job is to ease that buying process and shorten the steps so that they buy from you more quickly. So when people land on your website, they're looking for a few things. Can you solve my problem? Can you be trusted? And where can I find you? So this is true even if you're an online business, but especially if you're location-based. People, of course, want to be able to find where you're at. And that's a lot of times what they're searching for, just a really quick search to find your business. All right, so the 7 website mistakes that business owners make. And they typically stem from not recognizing the importance of those 2 statistics. That you have less than 8 seconds to make a good impression with your website, and that 96% of the people are not ready to buy yet. So like I said, the website mistakes that people are making is just not realizing that this is some things that need to be addressed. So the website mistakes that businesses are making seem small, but why do they matter? They make your website difficult to find. So you never get that chance to make your first impression. Your website is turning off visitors, so they never fully investigate your services. You don't have a chance to develop that relationship. Remember that most of your visitors are not ready to make a purchase decision. They're just there doing research. So part of your website's purpose is to lead them on that journey, lead them through that sales funnel. And by not creating those relationships and by having a website that turns people off, you're losing visitors, and that means that you're losing potential customers. So let's dive into the mistakes that people are making on their websites. Not having a clear message on how you can help them. It only takes 8 seconds for visitors to make that decision. So if they come to your website and it's really chaotic, it's not clear what they should do, it's really confusing, they don't understand what services or products you're offering, then that's going to be a real deterrent for people to stay on your website and to further do business with you. Because they really need to make a quick decision and say, is this person right for me? Because if not, they're just going to move on to somebody else. So things like clever job titles, they're okay for business cards to start a conversation. But on your website, if you have it on there, it's great on your about page, it's great to help with your branding, but make sure that it's not confusing to your website visitors. Make sure that you speak in a language that your customers understand, not using jargon, not using made-up words, but your tagline can be used to really further define your message. So for instance, I do use the terms like tech demystifier or a business tech catalyst or a tech cheerleader, sometimes I'll say, or an ideas instigator. You know, I help people brainstorm. So I kind of use those terms, but I use them with support as well. So what I really do is I help frustrated and time-strapped business owners to attract more clients by doing the tech setup for them and creating business systems that save them time and effort. So if you see that and you know that you're struggling with the tech side of it, then you know immediately that I'm a person that would be able to help you. So your action is to make sure that on your website you repeat your value and offerings in a clear way and to use a tagline to further define your message. So remember I said that a lot of these mistakes can be fixed with non-techy solutions. This is one of those non-techy solutions. This is something that you can really easily fix right away. Go to your website and take a look at it and see how you're speaking to people. Because especially as experts in our own industries, we get caught up in those words that customers would never actually use when they search for us. So that's where you can start doing not just keyword research. You don't even need to go that far. You can start listening to your clients and your customers. When you send out a newsletter, ask them what their pain points are, and they will tell you in their own language, and that will help you to create a web page that really speaks to your clients and that really connects you. All right, so the second one, not having a clear direction on what to do next. So when people land on your website, maybe there's a lot of stuff going on. If you've got lots of pictures, lots of video in the background, that's really popular now. Having those play in the back of messages, or having a lot of pictures, having a really big long home page with not a lot of white space, with lots of things going on. There's like pop-ups coming up. There's you know, a bar at the top saying something. There's a leave a voicemail now message. There's social sharing icons. Then there's the pictures themselves and the little graphics that spin and do things. And on top of that, you might have a really full navigation bar. You might have all this stuff going on in your website. And that's making it really hard for people to know what to do next. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make on their websites is that they don't have any calls to action to encourage further engagement. Because your website is really a path to making a sale. That's your marketing funnel. And remember I said that it takes 7 touch points to turn a prospect into a customer. You're leading them through that journey on your website to get them to know and like and trust you so that when they're ready to buy, that you are the obvious choice. So how do you do that? How do you add a call to action? Or what is a call to action? So a call to action is basically just getting people to move towards taking an action. So that's starting a sales conversation or getting your potential clients into your marketing funnel. So there should only be 1 or 2 actions to take, and you should include a call to action. So that's actually telling them what they should do next. So for instance, let's say the action you want them to take is to sign up for your email newsletter. This would be a first step in your marketing funnel, and it's a really great way of having permission marketing so that you can continue to talk to them and nurture your relationship. So email marketing is not dead. It's very powerful, and it's a really great way to keep that connection with your customer, because once they leave your website, they might never come back. So by emailing them on a periodic basis or weekly with some great tips in your blog posts or videos, or every once in a while giving them, like telling them that there's a promotion going on that's really going to be valuable for them, that's really going to help them. So you're coming at this from a place of giving value, not just of selling to them. So let's say you want to get people to sign up for your newsletter. Then what you could say is something like, join my community for weekly hot tips on building your online brand and get instant access to my free ebook, Book More Clients Now. So that is a call to action. And they would fill in their name and their email address. Maybe it comes in as a pop-up, or maybe they click something, but that is getting them to take that action. And quite often you'll see a sign-up box at the very top. You want to have one of them at the top of your website, maybe in the sidebar and at the bottom. And then at the bottom of relevant blog posts or on your sales page, you're usually going to have quite a few call to action buttons, which in that case would be register now or buy now. So let's say you're a consultant and the action that you want someone to take is to schedule a consultation. The call to action could be, if you're ready to live pain-free, book your free 30-minute discovery session. Just fill in the form below and choose a time that's convenient for you. So then you would have some kind of pop-up box or a scheduling system, or even sending you an email. But you are speaking their language, telling them that they want to live pain-free. If you are a holistic therapist or something, maybe you use muscle testing and emotion code to help people free their emotions, release blocked emotions, and help them to get clarity, or help them to live pain-free. So the people that are coming to you, they're looking to get over their problem. Like, what is their pain point? Their pain point in this case happens to be they want to live without pain, or they are stuck and don't have clarity and they want to move forward in their business, or get over a bad relationship. So by telling them about muscle testing or emotion code, for instance, that's not speaking their language. Telling them that if you're ready to live pain-free, then book your session with me because this is going to solve your problem. That's speaking in your customer's language. So some other calls to action could just be getting them to watch your video or your webinar, registering for your course, or even buying a product or service. So if it's something small, like an ebook or something like that, then they might actually, for $9.99, they might actually buy it off your website. So it might not take those 7 touch points. Your sales process is going to be different for each business. Some of them are longer sales process, like when I did wedding photography, it's a really long sales process from when people start interviewing you, and then you you meet up with them and they might see your products and the portfolio, and then they book you, and then 6 months or a year later, then you finally do the wedding pictures, and then another couple months later they get the album, and then finally the relationship is closed. So that's a really long relationship. But if it's just buying an ebook, it's a pretty easy relationship. If someone buys candles or some home decor or something like that, those little things are easier to get people to take action because it's a smaller investment and there's less trust that's needed. Okay, so another thing that you could do is if you've got a new visitor to your website, I've seen this quite often and it's really effective, have a Start Here tab. So it could be in your navigation menu at the top, or it could be in the sidebar. But it really is just, it could be a collection of your blog posts, it could be how to work with you, and it's just kind of a summary page of someone who's new can go and explore about you a little bit more. Maybe it's your most popular blog post about how to lose weight or how to do a detox. And that's starting to give them some trust in you. And then the next step is, giving them some information on some services that you offer, maybe a bit of your credentials, that you've been featured in these magazines or the media's featured you in a TV interview or something like that. So that's, like I said, it's a little bit of a summary page and gives a new visitor a directed, almost like a table of contents in a book of what to do. All right, so mistake number 3, that your website takes too long to load. Now this one can be a little bit techie to fix, but for the most part, it's just deleting a bunch of extra things. So we live in a society that is full of instant gratification. If your website takes longer than 5 seconds to load, people are just going to move on. Have you ever sat there and actually counted to 5 seconds while something is loading up? Especially like for me, I look at a lot of things on my phone, just like lots of people do nowadays. And people are just not going to have the patience because there are so many other options available. So some of the things that can affect your website loading, and one of them that I didn't put in here is your web host. You want to make sure that you've got the proper bandwidth and everything for your website, but that's not something that we'll get into today, and that's not something that you can as easily fix. I'm going to try and deal with things that you are able to fix yourself. So having too many images, especially like on a home page, when you have a really long page with lots of background images and then a layered image on top of that, or a video, like I said, those video backgrounds, they're really memory hungry. So when it comes to loading your website, it can take a really long time for that to load up. So is that actually adding any value to when a customer comes to your website? And in 99% of the cases, the answer is no. It's just something that's really trendy right now. And unfortunately, a lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon and having these really long home pages with lots of pictures and the videos playing in the background, and it just takes forever to load. So another thing is having too many widgets and plugins. Excuse me, I just had to take a drink there. Now you might not even know what those are, but basically widgets are add-ons and add extra little features. And plugins can do the same, but plugins are things that happen in the background, in the back end of your website. Widgets can be things that appear on the front end. For instance, something like the social network feeds. A lot of people have, their Facebook likes, and they've got 1,200 Facebook fans, and they've got their most recent Twitter comments. They've got their Instagram feed on there. That's super popular right now. So the more of those things that you fill up on your website, those each have to load independently as your web page comes up. So one of the reasons, of course, not to have it is that it's going to slow down your website. And it's kind of a cumulative effect. So having just one of those things might be okay. But then if you've got 3 different social network feeds on there, and you've got a little video playing in the sidebar, maybe it's your intro video and you've got an autoplay, which please do not do that. Maybe you've got your pop-up, your opt-in form popping up, and you've got some little widgets and spinny icons that are GIFs instead of just photos, instead of just graphics. Those animated icons take time to load as well, and they're really not adding anything to most people's websites. In some cases, maybe you're a web designer, and it looks really cool for you to have these features to show them off because people like them. But for me, doing web development for my clients, that's not serving them. So I don't even show those features a lot on my own website. Okay, so what you can do, obviously, is delete some of those plugins and widgets that either you're not using. Like, for instance, people have added plugins to do all these different features on their website. Maybe added an editorial calendar or a scheduling calendar or a couple of different anti-spam filters, and they've forgotten about all these things. But each of those is fractionally adding time to your website loading. So if you're not using them anymore, get rid of them. One of the ones that on WordPress that comes automatically installed is called Hello Dolly. And I think it's just a quote at the top. I don't need that on my website's back end. It's not serving any kind of purpose. So delete things like that right away. So the other thing is to use image icons instead of animated ones. So just, a little graphic instead of something that kind of spins or pops up and pops in. It does get your attention. So if you're going to use it sparingly. For instance, like the testimonial plugins, you'll see them slide in just so it gets your attention. But in a lot of cases, you don't need them. So another sort of easy fix is to use smaller image sizes. So when you're actually uploading your photos to your website, they only need to be a maximum of 200K. So this really surprised me. It was actually a podcast with Pat Flynn was talking to the WP Curve guy. I can't remember his name, but he was giving some website tips. And one of the things he said is images do not need to be more than 200K. So people have 1 megabyte images, they're like 2,000 by 3,000 pixels, and it's not necessary. So the smaller you can make your images, the faster they're going to upload. And you've probably landed on a website yourself and seen it kind of scroll up, tick, 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 and then the pictures eventually loaded up. So there is a plugin for that as well, and I'll give that at the end. You'll be getting the replay link, and I will also give you a little bit of a worksheet so that you've got some questions to just kind of refresh your memory and to think about, and I'll give some links of the things that I've talked about here. Okay, let's move on to mistake number 4. Not updating your website. In a survey by the National Small Business Association, they found that 82% of small businesses actually have a website. But those websites tended to be almost like they were there just because people felt that they needed them, not because they were actually doing anything with it. They hadn't thought out. Just like that very first question that I asked you, what is the purpose of your website? Why do you have a website? You really should have a strategy to having a website. What is it doing for you? Is it generating leads? Is it nurturing your relationships with people? Is it trying to get them to into your sales funnel? Is it a little bit of a brochure? Is it a portfolio for you? So businesses tend to kind of forget about their websites, and a website is not a set it and forget it thing. It's really an evolving thing, because as your business grows, you're going to be changing not just your services, but even your branding. Your image is going to change subtly, and even your language and how you start to speak to clients as you become more experienced and more professional. So one of the things is people don't do the maintenance on the back end of their website. They have a website done by a web developer, and then 6 months later, a year later, all these updates have come from WordPress and from the theme and from the plugins, and they didn't even know that they had to fix those. So that's actually another thing that we could go back to the previous step, is all of those things are kind of bogging down your website, and it also makes it not very safe, because you want to make sure for security purposes that you actually do those updates. So that was just kind of an aside tip. But not updating your website in this case, I mean the part that you actually can take care of. We're not talking about the back-end stuff too much today. We're talking about the small fixes that you can actually do that aren't really techie. So things like not updating your blog posts and having a really outdated looking website style and not having valid contact information. Or maybe it was a link that went to your LinkedIn page or something like that, and it no longer goes to that same LinkedIn page, or that LinkedIn page is not the web page isn't really sorry, I'm just getting distracted here looking at something on my computer. Okay, the contact information isn't valid. So yeah, so if you haven't updated those and it's going to somewhere and it's actually not getting the right place, you're getting an error, then that's not really helpful. So the other thing is broken links, because of course people make their websites ages before. And then, you know, maybe you've had 2 or 3 or 4 years worth of blog posts. Some of those links might not be working anymore. So one of the things that that you can do, obviously, and this is a really easy fix, is just go and update your address and your phone number, test the links, and there's a really great tool for this, and it's called the Xenu Link Sleuth, and that just automatically goes through, looks for all the links on your website, and lets you know where there's broken links. Perfect. You don't need to sit there and test, like, you know, 300 different links on all the blog posts and homepage and about page and contact page. So that's a fairly easy fix. And the other part of it, like I said, is just having some relevant, up-to-date information. Because if somebody comes to your website and they see your website and it's all outdated, it creates a lack of trust and a lack of integrity, and it doesn't represent you in a very good light. Even though your products and services might be great, your website looks bad and then gives a really bad impression. It's kind of like coming to a house. You make a first impression when you're buying a home. So if people haven't painted the fence, or you know, the floorboards are squeaky, or the lawn isn't very kept, and there's just dirt instead of grass, all those sort of things make an impression. So mistake number 5, not providing easy access to contact information. It's fantastic when they've actually found you, because so many people have such a struggle to get found in a search. But then they've made that decision and you're making it hard to get in touch with you. So this is a pretty easy thing to fix. Just providing different contact options to satisfy different people's needs. Some people really like to talk on the phone. Now, I rarely get people calling me on the phone, even though my phone number, it's on my website, it's on LinkedIn, it's on Facebook. And clients, I think I've had like 3 clients contact me, except in wedding photography, I did get a bit more. I tend to get contacted through Facebook messages and emails and on the contact form. So provide all these different ways for people to connect with you, make it easy for them to do it, and in a way that makes them feel comfortable. You know, of course, if you're a storefront, walking into your store is obviously what you want people to do. So that point of contact is kind of different than people who work mostly online. And the other thing is, make your contact information easier to find from every page. So that's why you see it's kind of standardized where people have the contact information. It's often the last thing in the navigation bar at the top, and quite often at the very bottom in the footer, there's contact information as well. And you can have it in the sidebar just to make it easy. And also even at the bottom of your services page or at the bottom of blog posts, if it's relevant, then drop in a call to action like we talked about before, telling them what to do, and just say, contact me for your free 20-minute consultation. And that just gives people that little prompt. And it's, again, if they were thinking about contacting you, you've made it really easy for them to do that. So make sure you've got multiple points of contact, and right, make sure you've got multiple points of contact. And if you rely on a local business, maybe you can add a map to make it easier to find you. Okay. So apparently it's stuck on the first slide. So I have no other way of telling. Let me try and do something else. Okay, so hopefully that is working. Like I said, it's really hard for me to tell because I can't see what's going on over here. I'm just looking at the Hangout, and right, so I'm just going to keep going. And if there were any problems with the slides, then what I'll do is I'll include it as a link, and you'll be able to go through the slides later. So like I said, hopefully things are working for you. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to try and do a screen share in a different way. Maybe that'll help. So back to me. And now let's just try sharing the entire screen. Let's see if that one works. Mistake number 6, not having a mobile optimized website. So if your website is not mobile optimized, you're turning off a huge proportion of visitors. You're making it really awkward for them to navigate the menus. Maybe they don't drop down. Maybe there's small buttons, and they, you know, when you're on a phone, you've got like sausage fingers, and it makes it really hard to choose things. Maybe it's that they can't actually see the text because it's not actually working right for a mobile phone, and they have to kind of do that pinch and zoom thing. And if you've got opt-in boxes and contact forms that aren't working really well on your website, then sometimes they pop up and they get stuck, and people can't X out that box and get rid of it, and that can be really frustrating. Or they kind of slide along and then get stuck in front of the text, so you can't actually read it. So some people have said, are there really that many people that are accessing my website from their mobile phone? And the answer is quite resoundingly yes. So mistake number 6, not having a mobile optimized website. If 9 out of 10 mobile searches lead to action, more than half of those lead to sales. So there's a really big reason nowadays that people have got their smartphones and everything, and they're carrying them everywhere. 91% of adults are keeping them within arm's reach, so they grab it the first thing in the morning. And on a global basis, people are going online using their phone almost as much, or using their phone more than their actual computers. So people who are just looking at the internet on their desktop is only about 11% now. So all around the world, people are using their phones more than ever. So this one is not such an easy fix. It might be time to switch to a website theme that is mobile optimized. So mobile friendly is no longer acceptable. So that's where you kind of still have to pinch and zoom. But you want to make sure that it's really easy for people who are using a smartphone or a tablet to actually navigate your website. And like I said, switching to a theme, in some cases you can actually have an add-on basically, so it makes a mobile selection. Facebook basically has that. You'll see m.facebook.com, and that's just the mobile option. All right, so moving on to mistake number 7. We are near the end, people. So not having a website at all for your business. That is one of the hugest mistakes that people can make nowadays. Your website is your online hub or your home base. It's the one place where people can find you using your information. Now on Google, there's all these directories that pop up. In Kelowna, we've got one called Hot Frog, and there's there's usually directories for your specific industry, and they pick up your information. And I know an accountant I was working with before, every time I tried to contact her, I never had her information to hand. She didn't have her phone number or anything in the email, so I would always Google it. And it was the one that popped up the most at the top of the search happened to be an old phone number. So, what I told her that she should do is, contact that directory and obviously get it updated. And people don't even realize that those directories are just putting information out there, trying to be helpful. But unfortunately, it ends up not being so helpful when they don't have the information that's up to date. And of course, they don't know any better. They're just pulling the information that's out there. So you want to make sure that people have your information that you provide, and your website is the thing that's providing that information, right? That's your most up-to-date information in theory. And your social networks are not really a substitute for a business website. Like I said earlier, your social networks are a supporting role. You want to use them to push traffic to your website, because that added traffic, again, helps you in a Google search. It's one of the tiny little things that affects how well you rank in a Google search, because all of these searches, like I said, whether it's Bing or Yahoo or Google or whatever it is, it's really a popularity contest. So Google is determining how popular you are by how many links that are going to your website, and social networks count as those links too. So the other thing is, blog posts and fresh information, like really fresh content, and keywords, things that are related to the terms that people are searching for. So like I said, social networks shouldn't be your main house, your main home base. They should be there to support it. So I've heard some people say, oh, I've got a Facebook page, I don't need a website. But you don't own that Facebook page. Facebook could go defunct, in a year from now. And all of that, that relationship building that you've done is then gone. So part of your website's role is to collect emails. Like your email list is one of the most valuable things. And if you talk to a lot of multimillionaire entrepreneurs, they'll say they could lose everything tomorrow as long as they had their list they could rebuild. So having your own home base, your website that you actually own, and this is WordPress.org, not WordPress.com. WordPress.org is the self-hosted ones. WordPress.com and Blogger, those are kind of using rented space essentially, and you don't have the freedom to do as many things as you could be for your business. And like I said, you also don't really own that space. So another reason that you, of course, should have a website nowadays is that 89% of consumers turn to a search engine to find information on products and services and businesses before they make a purchase. And we said that in one of the previous mistakes, that you're assuming that people are coming to your website to buy. They're actually coming to your website quite often to do research. So when people are looking for things and they're doing a search, you want to be the one that comes up. And having testimonials, having ranking in Google, having product and service information, lots of pages that are kind of related, but each deals with a very specific topic. Those are really going to help you to get found in a search. And if people are searching for your products and services, you want to be the one that shows up on the first page. All right, so I don't know how I can say it any other way, but to be a professional business, you really, really, really need to have a website. Start with what you can afford or what your tech skills can build you. Now, not everybody can afford to spend $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or even $10,000 on a custom website. Nor do I think businesses need to be honest. I think people don't know that there's other options and that it doesn't need to be that expensive, and that you don't need a custom website necessarily. Building it from a theme and then customizing that theme is a far cheaper option, unless you are having a website that looks totally different than everybody else's. Most websites follow a certain kind of design format, and there's a reason for that, because your eye flows across the page a certain way. But you can use a template and still get fantastic results and just customize it with your personal branding. And if you can't afford any of those others, then do it yourself. Use something like Squarespace, or you can even do your own WordPress website. If you pick an easy theme, it's quite user-friendly. Some of them are more challenging, but if you're fairly computer literate, then you can watch some videos and take courses and things like that, and really have a professional looking presence without spending heaps of money to do it. So by all means, you have to have a website nowadays to do business. I don't think there's any business I can think of that would really not need a website. So let's just do a recap. Which of these mistakes apply to you? Not having a clear message, not clear direction on what to do next. So leading them through your sales funnel. Mistake number 3, your website takes too long to load. So I said some of that is a pretty easy fix just by changing the picture sizes and getting rid of widgets. Mistake number 4, not updating your website. this is when it's really easy to fix. Just put some fresh content on there. Make sure your pictures are up to date. Try and have a fresh web design. Every 2 or 3 years at the most, you should really be thinking about redoing your website. It's kind of like moving house. And sometimes, especially if people have built it themselves or if they've invested a lot of money into their website design, they really feel like they don't want to move. If you've bought a house and it was a fixer-upper, you have more blood, sweat, and tears in it, so you really feel like keeping that house forever. And it's the same with websites, so people get really attached to it, but they really do evolve with your business and with the trends as well, because if it looks outdated, then it's not showing you in a very good light. So mistake number 5, not providing easy access to contact information. Make sure that the links are working and that people can find the contact information everywhere. Mistake number 6, not having a mobile optimized website. Clearly, with so many people using their phones all the time, not being able to put them down at dinner parties and picking them up first thing in the morning, you really want to have a website that is user-friendly for smartphones for sure. And mistake number 7, we just covered, not having a website at all for your business. So information without action is just clutter. You've just heard all of these things that I've given you, some tips that you can go out this week and fix some little things on your website that can make a really big difference to attracting more clients, getting found in a search, making it more user-friendly and have a better flow on your website for potential clients, and making more of a connection with your customers. So where are you on your website journey? Did those tips sound like they're easy for you to do and that can make your website experience better for your visitors? So what I want you to do is to promise me that you're going to take action, even if it's just checking out some of your links or making sure your contact information is working properly, adding some calls to action. That can just be a couple of sentences somewhere. If you don't know how to put a button on your website, just tell people to connect with you. If you want to have that buff body by the summer, so you look great on the beach, book your complimentary 1-week session at the gym now, that sort of thing. So you can just add those sentences anywhere. And if you are ready for a new website, is it time to have a mobile website, or is it just time to refresh your website? So I do website development, and I also tie it in with some marketing advice, as you can hear from the things that I've talked about. I don't just make your website look pretty. So if you are in that part of your journey, then you're welcome to contact me. I would love to give you a beautiful online presence. And at the moment, I am just starting what's called the DIY Website in a Week course, and it starts on Monday, February 9th. So that's just a few days from now. I've got an introductory price for it, and it's $195. And I walk people through, because the most thing that I've heard is that they're so frustrated and overwhelmed with WordPress and they don't know how to fix things themselves. So I can help businesses with their with starting a brand new website, whether it's for a different aspect of your business or a little sales page. Essentially, people are making them more as like a mini website almost now. Or if you're changing the service offerings in your business, maybe you've left your corporate job and you're just starting your coaching and consulting business, then my DIY Website in a Week course might be perfect for you. So you can check it out here. This is just a short link. And it is tiny.cc/WIAW. So website in a week. So I'd love for you to join me on that. You can check out the sales page, see if there's anything of interest for you. And that is the end of it for today. I've covered a whole bunch of stuff, and I hope that I've made it actionable and valuable for you and easy for you to use. So thank you so much for taking your time out of your day today. I know you're busy as business owners and entrepreneurs. Right, so thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you got some value out of this. The replay will be up for a couple of days. And feel free to share the original opt-in link with people if you think that they will get some value out of these tips. Thank you again so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the internet. So I'm at brightsparkmedia.ca, or you can find me on Facebook. And this is Angelique Duffield signing off. Bye-bye.